Welcome back to the weekend pregame, 88.5 KURE and KURE885.org. I'm Dan Tracy, Spencer Hughes, and Dean Burhall also co-hosting with me. We're now being joined by a former Iowa State men's basketball player. He played here from 1997 to 2000. He was the Big 12 Player of the Year in 2000, a first-team All-American. He was the number 4 overall pick in 2000 to the Chicago Bulls, spent 6 seasons in the NBA. He's trying to make his way back into the NBA as well. We're excited to talk to him. He's Marcus Fizer. Marcus, how are you?
I'm doing really good. How about yourself?
Very good, very good. Now, Marcus, let's just start out with your career here at Iowa State. I know a lot of Iowa State fans listening are interested to hear about your Cyclone career. You were a McDonald's All-American coming out of Arcadia High School in Louisiana. Why did you think Iowa State was the right fit for you to play college basketball?
Well, I knew coming from a small town, I just wanted to be somewhere where I can grow and mature as a man and just focus on my academics, focus on playing basketball, not having the pressures of being close to home or anything like that. And I wanted to go to a university that, that I could help, become more known, as you would say. The guys that was before me, Dedrick Willoughby and, Fred Hoiberg and J.T. Holloway and all those guys had done really well. Kevin Cato had done really well. And so I wanted to come in and be a part of that and, start something magical. And, I feel like, me being there with Stevie Johnson and Mike Nurse and the rest of those guys, Jamal Tinsley, Contrell Horton, we did pretty well.
Now, the Iowa State fan base here has loved the last 2 seasons under Fred Hoiberg, but people forget how good the 1999-2000 team was. What stands out to you when you look back to that season?
Just how fun it was. I tell the younger guys that's coming into the pros now, and even Will Claiborne is out here in Vegas with me working out, training. Really? Craig Brackens is out here as well. And I just tell them how I remember basketball was fun then. That's the last time basketball was so fun. Now it's so political. It's business. And so things happen. There's all kind of ups and downs. And when you're in college, all you're thinking about is, being with your teammates and playing basketball and winning ball games.
We're talking to Marcus Fizer, former Iowa State All-American, also former NBA player. Marcus, we had a chance last year to cover Royce White's early departure to the NBA. It was an interesting decision that we didn't know whether he was going to stay or go. When you decided to leave early and go to the NBA, what was the biggest factor in your mind?
The biggest factor at that time was my parents' house burning down. Up until then, I hadn't made the decision. I was totally disappointed with the way the season ended. I think I was depressed for a good 2.5 weeks because I just couldn't believe that it was over. I had one goal in mind, and that was, to win the national championship. I can remember at the beginning of the year seeing the trophy before the season even started and saying that that's what I wanted to hold up at the end of the year. And so once that happened, it was totally devastating. And so after that, probably a week or two later, then that's when my parents' house burned down, and it's something that I had to make a decision that was just me and my family.
Marcus, you mentioned that you're working out in Las Vegas with the likes of Craig Brackens and Will Clyburn. This is Will's chance. He just got invited this morning to go to attend the NBA Combine. What's the biggest message that you have for somebody like a Will Clyburn who's about to make the jump to the NBA?
Well, I let them know how important it is to be professional. Just to approach it as your job now. It's not the things that you used to get away with in college. It's not going to be that easy to get away with it now. Joe Bunasar, who runs Impact Basketball out here, he was on those pre-draft guys so hard this morning. We were upstairs working out in a weight room, and you can see down to the court, and you can just see the guys, their face. They were trying to lollygag around. They were trying to face themselves, and Joe was telling them, once the combine starts, once you go to the workouts, this is what they're going to expect. They're going to see, you trying to face yourself, and the execs can see what's going on. So you got to continuously work hard at every moment. It's just an hour and a half of work. Go in and put in your hour and a half of work, and then get your rest when the time is over with. So those are the things I try to just convey to them, just how important it is to try to be to go 100% each and every time you step on the floor.
Talking with Marcus Fizer here, 88.5 KURE. This is the weekend pregame. You've had some interesting relationships with coaches now. Coach Floyd, Tim Floyd, recruited you to Iowa State, and then you actually played for him in Chicago. You played with Fred Hoiberg in Chicago, and you also played under Coach Eustace. Out of those three guys, do you still keep in touch with those three?
Yeah, I try to as much as I can. The last couple of years, with me being in Europe,
right,
or playing in different places, I hadn't had a chance to. But I do follow their teams when they play. I talk to Freddie a lot on Facebook. I don't think Coach Eustace or Coach Floyd is on Facebook or anything like that. But I just try to encourage the guys when I get a chance to. I talked to Coach Floyd maybe about a year ago before I went over to Argentina. And I hadn't talked to Coach Eustace in a couple of years, but one of the young guys, Cole Iverson, who played for him at Colorado State, is here. And so I'm going to get his information and, give him a call and see how everything is going. Those guys seem to be doing really well. I know Freddie is doing really well at Iowa State, and to see, him be rewarded for his hard work and, what he's done with that program is amazing.
Have you been following the team closer now that Hoiberg is the coach?
I've always followed the team, since I left there. And when the guys got put out there next year, in first round, that was devastating. And each year after that, I tried to, see and keep up on them as much as possible. And even when Royce was there, I watched the NCAA tournament, and this year I watched it even more because those guys fight extremely hard, and I know how important it is and how big it is in Ames, Iowa. And Iowa State basketball, and it still brings chills to me now.
He's Marcus Fizer. He was the number 4 overall pick in 2000 to the Chicago Bulls. Marcus, it's a difficult position if you're a player that's drafted in the top 5 or the top 10. You're either labeled a success or a bust, depending on your performance, especially earlier in your career. When you first heard yourself being labeled as a bust, what did you think? How did you respond to that?
It was disappointing, without a question. I mean, no one wants to be labeled as that. But, like you said, depending on your performance, if you look at my performance of the years that I was in the NBA, I played great. Just unfortunately, I was bitten, as they would say, by the injury bug. You have a lot of guys who have played, a lot of years, 10, 11 years, that were high draft picks that really hadn't done anything in their career. And here I am, I've torn my ACL 3 times, but I'm still fighting. I'm still playing at a high level. And that's definitely a blessing to be able to still do what I love to do. Like I said, you have some guys that are totally superstars who, careers could have been derailed because of an injury. Brandon Roy, for example. Yep. I'm sure he's totally devastated that he cannot get his injury right or anything like that. And he was an NBA All-Star, and he was a guy that they was looking to play for years and years and years and be a superstar. But unfortunately, he had the injury. Greg Oden the same way. If I feel like if you're going to label a guy as a bust, label them as a bust for what they didn't do within their career. Having the full range of being able to do it. Not, when guys get injured or things like that, because you never can tell who can get injured,
right,
or who's going to get injured. Kobe got injured this year. What if that would have happened to him 10, 11, 12 years ago? So that's the most disturbing part. What it does to my psyche, anything like that, it doesn't do anything but feed me and makes me work hard. Because I know, my ability, I know what I can do. I know what I'm doing here in Vegas and training hard, working out extremely hard, competing hard, trying to show what I can still do. And, the sky is still the limit for me. I still have a lot of years, to play. I've been fortunate enough to, have the injuries, I guess you would say, and I hadn't played as long as a Kobe Bryant or a guy like that, who has been around for 17, 18 years or something like that. So, me being in the shape that I'm in now, I've lost a ton of weight since I've been out here in Vegas, about 25, almost 30 pounds in the last two and a half months. And just approaching it the right way. That was the problem with me in the beginning. I approached it totally a different way. My athleticism, my strength, my talent, I thought that was going to take me, where I needed to go. And when I didn't approach it the right way, those things, my body began to break down. So I began to build myself back up. I've gotten a lot stronger. I've, trained extremely hard, and everything is working extremely well.
Now, Marcus, your NBA career to date has spanned 6 seasons, most notably the 4 with the Bulls. You just were talking about the injuries. One of the biggest storylines this playoff year has been Derrick Rose and his return from his torn ACL. Now, you tore yours, like you mentioned earlier. How tough physically and mentally was it to recover from that, and are you completely and fully recovered now?
For me personally, you know, it was tough. I mean, it's tough. Everybody, you know, reacts differently towards a torn ACL. You hear the Derrick Rose story and you hear the Adrian Peterson story. You get out into the rehab, what you put into it. I was with Tim Grover and with Attack Athletics, and we hit it hard. You know, sometimes 6-7 days a week, every week. You know, just going at it, strengthening it, and everything like that. Now, you know, the last time I tore my ACL was almost 5 years ago. But anytime, you know, you have an injury like that, somebody's always going to be weary about, you know, what's going on and all that. But you just got to attack it with no fear. You have to have a faith, belief in yourself that the work that you put into it, you're going to get out of it. And, you know, now when I step on the floor, I don't even think about it. Like I said, it's been 4.5, almost 5 years since I had any kind of severe injury. You know, basketball-related injuries are going to happen. Guys are going to strain muscles. Guys are going to twist ankles and things like that. It's basketball. It's not, you know, baseball where you just stand out there throwing the ball around and there's not really a lot of contact. It's a contact sport, so things are going to happen. So, like I said, you just get out of it what you put into it. And, you know, when Derrick feels like he's ready and he feels like he can get out there and go, then, you know, I'm sure that Chicago Bulls are going to be welcoming him.
Talking with Marcus Fizer, former Iowa State men's basketball player, also spent 6 years in the NBA. Marcus, a lot of people would like to talk about your college career and your NBA career. You've also had a pretty unique overseas career. Now, correct me if I'm wrong here. Spain, Russia, Puerto Rico, Israel, Taiwan, and Argentina. Am I missing anybody?
I've never been to Russia.
Never been to Russia? Oh, okay.
No, I've never played in Russia, but I played in Spain.
Okay.
Played in Israel, Argentina. I played in Taiwan, and, you know, in the summer times I go down to Puerto Rico and play basketball. It's a very, very fun league down there in Puerto Rico. I have my Puerto Rican family that, you know, I grew accustomed to, and just being on the island. My kids and my wife and my kids just love the island. It's one of the favorite places that we like to go in the summer times, and that's one of the stops that I usually do. But, you know, knowing that I can still compete at a high level at those places, I know that I can still compete at a high level in the NBA because, you know, overseas basketball is a lot tougher than what people think.
Right.
You know, when you're a strong physical player, the referees tend to allow, you know, players to get away with things on you, and it's just a toll night in and night out. And even when I was in Argentina, you know, it's a professional basketball league, and they had 2 referees. Can you hardly call it a high school basketball game with 2 referees? So it's just, you know, a constant toll in and out. But like I said, I was totally thankful to be able to be in a position to even still go out and compete and provide for my family. And so now I'm here in Vegas and, you know, waiting for the workouts and all that to begin. And I'm very, very optimistic about, you know, next season.
Now, Marcus, your Twitter page, your Facebook page, they all mentioned the Fizer revival. You said in an interview in 2011, no question in 5 years you thought you'd be back in the NBA. You're now 2 years past that quote. Where are you now? You're 34 years old. Where are you with your plan to make it back to the NBA?
Well, right now it's just going to have to, you know, play the time out of when the workouts, the vet workouts and things like that happen.
Okay.
If a team wants me to play in the Summer League here in Vegas, yeah, I'm already here in Vegas. You know, 2 years ago, I wasn't getting the training from, you know, my representatives and the agency that I was with then to be able to be in the position that I'm in now. You know, I hired a new agent, Brian Brundage from Northwest Indiana, and his agency is WCM, Worldwide Career Management, and ever since I hired him, they've done, you know, a tremendous job. Everything that I needed to get in the position. He said all he needed me to do was to come in and be dedicated, work out, train hard, and that's what I've done. And it's been a great relationship, a great partnership, and, you know, we know within the next couple of weeks or so, or whenever the chance presents itself for me to work out for an NBA ball club and things like that, something's going to happen. You know, I don't have no doubt with that. I just wasn't in the place that I should have been 2 years ago. And now, you know, me being 34, I don't have 34-year-old miles on me. I mean, literally. Okay. You know, when I'm here playing 5-on-5 with the guys, I'm totally, you know, stupefying Joe Abumasar and the guy and the other coaches and stuff here because, you know, there's guys here that's 12, 13, 14 years younger than me. And, you know, I get off the floor, you know, after they do. You know, I try to make them play more games. I try to make them work harder and all that because I'm so eager to get back to where I know I belong.
Marcus, we'll get you out on a non-basketball question. I know that later in your career, especially, you found renewed faith in your religion and with your kids as well. What do you hope to achieve outside of basketball, regardless of whether you make it back to the NBA or not?
Well, I just want to, you know, live the life that I'm supposed to have been living. You know, I know I'm supposed to have been a minister for years now. You know, I ran from it. I was always raised in the church. I've been a Christian all my life, but I just hadn't lived it the way that I should have been living. And through my ups and downs, through my career, over and over and over again, God always got my attention. I humbled myself for long enough, and then when the Marcus Fizer buzz started again, I started doing the Marcus Fizer fleshy things, and injury happened again. Mm-hmm. So I was fortunate enough to, you know, play and rehab to get back, and I went over to Tel Aviv, Israel, in the middle of the Holy Land, and here I am, this Christian, humble, playing basketball. We get on the run, and, you know, I have a contract where in the middle of a 2-year contract, I can opt out and go back to the NBA. The whole Marcus Fizer buzz going again. I start hanging out in clubs, partying, chasing women, all kinds of things I'm not supposed to be doing for my ACL again. And so at that point, I really understood where I was going wrong. You know, I got my faith where it should have been, and I started focusing more and more on the aspect of being the man that I was put on this earth to be. You know, basketball doesn't make me. The money doesn't make me. None of that. I promise God, as long as He gives me the physical ability to go out and compete and still play, I'm going to go out and compete and still play. And now I'm in a role where I'm the older guy, I'm the older vet, and, you know, being able to teach the people that's coming up behind me. Like I mentioned before, my son is coming up behind me. I have a 15-year-old son that's, you know, 6'3", who, you know, in a couple of years, he's a freshman now. He's going to be looking to go to, you know, a big-time university. I hope there's going to be Iowa State. We're going to see. Kind of like Duke right now.
You'll have to message Fred on Facebook about that one.
Recruiting news.
But, you know, those are the things that I realized that's the time that I am in my life right now. And, you know, I got the bigger picture, you know, in mind. And that's, you know, doing the right things, being able to provide for my family, and, well, first and foremost, being able to go to God and look at God and know that I've been given this blessing and this talent and to do something positive with.
Hey, Marcus, I know there are a lot of Iowa State fans that were looking forward to hear this interview. Thank you for joining us, and say hi to Mr. Clyburn for us.
No problem. I definitely will.
Thanks, Marcus.
Thanks, Marcus.